What is going on, folks? I am Goat. Welcome back to Warframe. I'm just going to apologize now if I'm slurring my words or sounding stupid. I don't feel great. So please, bear with. So, excuse me, TennoCon 2023. Now, I know that this is posting at basically the end of fucking September. So, there's probably plenty of people got builds for this bitch. I don't care. I was very excited to see the first unreleased Prime weapon get released during a TennoCon that I know of. If it's happened before, by all means, correct me in the comments. But at least during my tenure from 2020 till present, dev streams, TennoCon, none of the above, they haven't dropped any Prime weapons that hadn't been previously released before. So when I saw the Gotva Prime was going to be coming out, I was pretty fucking interested. Now, in this description, I know it's, it's right fucking there, but I'm gonna read it. In the final days of the old war, long before clone rot set in, elite Grineer commanders carried Gotva Prime rifles, designed to protect the surviving Orokin during the Warframe rebellion. Huh, yeah, worked out real good because now we got it. That's great. Good times. So, in comparison, this thing actually has a pretty similar appearance to another weapon, which is the MAAAAAAN. Now, the MAAAAAAN has like a big barrel cover kind of setup on it. Not the glaive. So, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty similar looking weapon. It's got the same little like feeler arms out on the front. The MAAAAAN does have an alt fire. It has like a grenade launcher alt fire, and it's got that big, obviously white cover. Like, I need to change that. It looks like shit, actually. What is that box? Dead center white. Okay, so let's do this. Let's just come down here and fix this. Let's see what this motherfucker... Let's do that white, actually. Yeah. Let me make this go away. Hell to the... Yeah, that looks way better. Sorry. Sorry, it was bugging me. So anyway, so yeah, so that's the MAAAAAN. So we got the MAAAAAAN. But the Gotva Prime is like the more refined version of this weapon. Like, as you can see, I mean, like, they're statistically pretty close weapons, just the MAAAAAN has more status. Now, base numbers on this weapon, I don't know, oh, because I did that. So base numbers on this weapon: 23% critical chance, 2.5 multiplier, and a 27 status. And it comes with 2 Matterai and a fucking Naramon on it. And I'm honestly quite excited about that particular fact, because you can do a couple of funky little builds with this and it works really fucking well. The only negative to this weapon, honestly, is the fact that it's a puncture based weapon. Now granted, I know that they just did rework, from my perspective, they just did rework damage on puncture, but puncture is still garbage in the grand scale of things. So like, it's like a chip damage. So your first build that you can do, and both builds, by the way, zero format, as you can tell. First build's very simple. This is solely focused into doing some status procs, getting, and you would think at 69% crit that this thing is not going to really kick 100 munitions off, but I'm here to tell you otherwise. It absolutely fucking does. You're going to see that. So, like, this is a very simple build. Now, again, I know that there's always that argument that hammer shot, why use hammer shot? If you don't like hammer shot being on there, use something else. Personally, I like it because it's going to put a chunk of status on there, but it's also going to apply more to the critical damage as well, which you're going to see why in a minute, why that actually fucking matters, especially with a gun like this. Like, sure, could I use galvanized chamber and, not even have to use another format? Abso-fucking-lutely. But, or not chamber, galvanized aptitude, But when you're talking about an 80% direct damage per status type affecting on a kill, plus that same 80% status chance, fuck you running, I will take the critical damage buff, taking it up to a 7 times multiplier over that percentage increase on damage. It's just my particular choice. You do you on that one. Even with this build, galvanized aptitude 100% fits. You still got 3 points left, so it 100% fits. So, I mean, and I'm sorry if you hear fan noise in the background, by the way, it is very stuffy in my office. To further this, if you want to use the Axillus, you can just use a blank vigilante supplies in here just to give it a little bit more of a fucking critical buff. Because ammo function, not a problem. Absolutely not a problem. You don't need projectile speed, you don't need any of that bullshit. But you could put just an empty vigilante supplies on here just to get the critical buff out of it a little bit more. That's not going to hurt in the least. So yeah, but this is 100% you do you setup. Now the other build is quite obvious: bladed rounds, galvanized scope. Everything else is pretty much the fucking same. Well, close. Because of galvanized scope and bladed rounds, you got to ditch the heat, so you are less status. Doesn't matter. This build definitely ticks off some decent red crits. The funny thing is though, is that the DOT build ticks off slash with 100 munitions, but it also does heat damage and viral damage, and obviously some puncture damage, but it doesn't really matter. So we're just gonna go do this, okay? Because like I tested this thing from 120 all the way to 195 in the simulacrum, and then I went to obviously Ani, I went to Mott dealing with Vor and nullifiers, and then I went to the Fortress. And honestly, I mean, yeah, you got to chuck some bullets at some motherfuckers. But I tested both builds. Obviously, the galvanized scope bladed rounds build is the more powerful overall punchy build for death. But if you're looking to prime and kill with some crit,
shut down all systems.
This is surprisingly a good build.
Capsules your way.
Hey, just remember, it doesn't crit. Not a 69, not a giggity, baby. And remember, this is primary merciless on this build, so I'm not even getting the bonus damage to heads. Or the extra bonus damage to headshots. Good time, right? I do like the fact actually that with the damage number rework, even though the numbers are all over the fucking place, the blue numbers are no longer just like, you know, funky little like status effect numbers or just base damage numbers, but they're actually shielded opponent numbers. And that white is purely just base damage only. And I know that was primarily the case before, but blues would also hit in when you had like a ribbon with negatives and shit, so. Oh. Hey buddy, how you doing? What you doing over there?
Activating it will buy you more time.
Look, he's got slash procs on him. Took 15, 17 sacks to slash. But he's getting ticked away. Bye, big boy. No, I mean, is this thing gonna like easily mop a fucking acolyte? No, you're gonna. This is like a good damage primer, and then use a solid melee or a solid secondary that's doing some extensively high crit, or just something that's factionally built to attack an acolyte. Yeah, 29 stacks, or yeah, 29 stacks of slash. Man, I'm just shooting the shit out of that wall. But see, everybody thinks that I just do high forma investment builds. Very much not the case. Gotva Prime. This is a solid rifle. It's not OP as fuck, and I'm sorry, I bumped the shit out of my camera, so my shit's kind of out of whack. There we go. Yeah, so, you know, it's not like this super OP weapon, but it's a good primer weapon that can actually throw some fucking crit in there too, and, you know, actually build up some slash procs where you wouldn't even expect them. So, not mad at that at all. So, yeah, that's the Gotva Prime. I know it's like, you know, a month after fucking TennoCon and all, but figured I wanted to get it in there, considering everything's just been incarnate. And obviously, like, at my present point in shooting this is literally the day of TennoCon, or technically the morning after TennoCon. So I don't know exactly if the dev stream has dropped yet or not. So if I'm giving funky information between any of the videos in September all the way into our very first video of October, just please take that into account, that you know, it's what I got to work with, because I'm shooting like a month in advance most of the time. So anyway, folks, thanks very much for watching. As always, we'll catch you in the next one, all right?